Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another video. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Fulham tomorrow afternoon at Goodison Park. 3 o'clock kickoff, an absolute must-win game for Sean Dyche and for Everton Football Club. Yes, that is a sentence that I have said far too many times over the course, I was going to say of the last 2 or 3 months, but over the course of the last 12 months, really, it feels like, obviously nothing has changed from this point last season when Everton were in a relegation battle and, we faced teams like Manchester United and Chelsea and Brentford at Goodison, all in games that were absolute must-wins, and of course that Crystal Palace game as well, which we all remember. This one, very similar to some of those games. It's a game that Everton simply cannot afford to lose. I don't even think a point tomorrow afternoon would be suffice, given obviously the defeat to Manchester United last weekend. Obviously, Everton only managing to draw with Tottenham Hotspur last time out at Goodison as well. We really need to pick up our first 3 points since that win against Brentford a number of weeks ago. Fulham are a side that have had a really good season, obviously managed by former Everton manager Marco Silva. A season that I don't think many people would have expected from Fulham, in the sense of that I think a lot of people will have had them down as a team battling, to stay in the Premier League come the end of the season and battling for survival. And, they've really shocked everyone, haven't they, in terms of how well they've played this season, some of their results, some of their performances, and they, I'd say comfortably see themselves, safe and looking forward to Premier League football next season. Whether or not they'll finish in a European position this season is I think probably unlikely at this point. There's still every chance of that, of course, with it being so tight and the Premier League table being so tight at the moment. There's every chance that with a run of a couple of games, Fulham could get in those European places. But without Alexander Mitrovic, of course, who I believe is suspended for the rest of the season, that will be a massively difficult task. And as I said, Marco Silva deserves a lot of credit. He deserves a lot of, a lot of credit for the job that he's done at Fulham, not only this season, but obviously last season in getting them promoted back into the Premier League. But regardless of that, it's not about Marco Silva tomorrow, and it's not about Fulham, it's about Everton, and Everton simply cannot afford to come away from this game with anything other than a 3 points. And it's as basic as that. Obviously we spoke yesterday on the live stream about whether or not Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be available for this game. The manager said that he was back in full training, and we've heard a couple of reports over social media over the course of the last few days to suggest that he is back in full training and in contention of potentially playing this game. Whether or not we see him start, whether or not we see him featured in any capacity, we'll have to wait and see, of course. But the hope is there. We know Seamus Coleman is out injured, of course. Again, that leaves the question as to who will step in to replace Seamus Coleman. Will Nathan Patterson go straight back in there directly, or will we maybe see Ben Godfrey at right back? Will we maybe see Mason Holgate there, in which we've seen in previous years? I'm not entirely sure. I probably think that if Nathan Patterson is fit and available, it would be him that gets the nod. But we'll have to wait and see, and we don't know that for sure. But it won't be an easy game. It won't be an easy game for multiple reasons. One of them being that, Fulham have had a really good season this season, and I think generally are riding a little bit of a wave at the moment. They haven't had a great last couple of months, it has to be said. Obviously ever since that that game against Manchester United in the Cup, in which Alexander Mitrovic was sent off, and they were cruising in that game, weren't they? Absolutely cruising. And then all of a sudden, they were 20 minutes away from a historical win and progressing in the Cup, and then all of a sudden it all went down the pan. And that decision led to a little bit of a sort of spiral downwards in form, and Mitrovic not being there is a massive negative to them, plus point to us, because obviously he's an absolute handful and he's a natural goal scorer. He's somebody that naturally wins games of football, so him not being there is massive for Everton. But ultimately, as I said before, it's down to the manager and to Everton to go out there tomorrow and to put a performance in worthy of the 3 points. And listen, I don't for one second think it will be easy, because I don't for one second think that any game that Everton play between now and the end of the season will be easy, solely for the reason that I haven't watched an Everton game that has been a comfortable win for a long time. Arguably October against Crystal Palace was it, and before then, even then it was months before then. So I don't think this one will be easy, as we've said multiple times before since Sean Dyche has taken over. You don't really expect to see many high-scoring Everton games. I think if we win games, a lot of them will be 1-1-0, maybe 2-1 at a push. If we lose games, a lot of them will be lost 1-2-0, tight scorelines. You very rarely will see 4-0, or, the Arsenal game, for example, was an anomaly. One thing I don't think helps either team tomorrow, and certainly not Everton, is a point. I think a point would be a really poor result, because ultimately there's teams that are around us that are picking up wins. Bournemouth have had a couple of wins on the bounce recently, and they've got a little bit of confidence. West Ham, are capable of winning games. There's some really important games this weekend, and I had a little look at our fixtures from now and the end of the season, and I think people are forgetting we've still got to play Manchester City at home in a game that, dependent on the title race, could be an absolute must-win for Manchester City as well. We've got to go away from home to Wolves, Palace, Brighton, and Leicester, and okay, you might look at that and think, well, Leicester's a winnable game because they're in a similar position to us, and Wolves is a winnable game because they're in a similar position to us. But we all know as Evertonians that Everton don't go away from home and win very often. We've won one away game this season. We won 2 away games in the entirety of last season, and one of those was against Leicester City. So I don't look at any of the away games and think, well, it's fine because we'll win that one, because I genuinely can't see Everton winning another away game, and I'm not saying that won't happen, but I don't have any expectation that Everton will go away from home and win. So that leaves the home games. One of them is Manchester City, which we've already discussed will be an extremely difficult game. One of them is Bournemouth on the last day of the season, which could be a relegation decider, and then therefore will obviously be a massively difficult game. And then, of course, we've got Fulham, which for me, I think on paper, looking at the fixtures, is Everton's easiest fixture between now and the end of the season, in terms of the fact that Fulham are a team that, I don't want to say are on the beach. I don't want to say their season's finished, because I think that would be being a little bit disrespectful, but they certainly haven't got anywhere near as much to play for as some of the other teams that we've got coming up. And as I said, it's at Goodison Park. And, we've only got a couple of games left at Goodison Park, and 2 of them are extremely difficult. And this one, I think, is the easiest of the bunch. Not in terms of that, I think Fulham are a worse team than Bournemouth, but I just think at that game, we don't want to be going into Bournemouth on the last day of the season needing to win to stay in the Premier League. And if they beat us, we go down. If we beat them, the nerves, the anxiety, I just couldn't be dealing with it. I really couldn't be dealing with it. So this one for me, as I said, I think represents the most winnable fixture out of all that we've got left coming up, even though Fulham aren't the worst team that we've got to play, if that makes sense. And it's simple for me. It's very simple. Everton have got to go out tomorrow, and Everton have got to win. There's no, there's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no, there's no other outcome that will, I think, have Evertonians sitting there satisfied. We lose tomorrow, and it's an absolute disaster, And if we draw tomorrow, it doesn't help anybody. It literally doesn't help anybody at all. So a win really is the only acceptable outcome, I think, for the position that we're in. And if we win tomorrow, then we can have a little look at some of the other results around us, and teams like West Ham and Wolves and Leicester, Leeds, Bournemouth, etc. And as long as we've won, we know there's not much we can do about it. A win could take us above some of those teams, depending on how the other results go. But a loss tomorrow would be catastrophic. And as I said, there's not many more games that you'll look at and you'll go, yeah, I'm confident Everton can go out and win this. And again, I'm not saying if we lose tomorrow it's all done, but I'm just saying, that's sort of the importance of this fixture. And it'd be nice for Everton to go out and put a performance in tomorrow. They owe a performance, because that performance at Manchester United last weekend was so bad. Listen, anybody can lose a game of football. Any team can lose a game of football. And we've lost games of football under Sean Dyche. And I've sat here on the channel and said that, okay, we lost, but it wasn't an awful performance. And it was a case of a couple of decisions went against us, or we just weren't as, we made a couple of mistakes. But I said last week, and I'll say it again, you know, the performance against Manchester United was absolutely horrifying. I think the manager got it wrong. I think the players were atrocious, and I think it was just a really poor performance considering the position that we're in and the situation that we're currently in. So we can't afford to have that tomorrow. These players need to show a reaction. They owe us a reaction. And as I said, although Fulham are a good team, they managed well, they work well, they've not really, put it this way, there's no, I'm unwilling to accept that this game can mean more to Fulham tomorrow than it does to Everton. I'm simply unwilling to accept that those Fulham players, the Fulham manager, the Fulham fans can go into Goodison Park tomorrow and this game mean more to them than what it should mean to those players wearing, you know, the blue of Everton tomorrow and to Sean Dyche, because it doesn't. It simply doesn't. Fulham on in any relegation battle, I've got no worry at all. Okay, they could finish in the European position, etc. But there's not a world in this galaxy, in this Milky Way, whatever, in which this game means more to Fulham tomorrow than it does to Everton. And Everton have got to be able to show that. And if Everton can show that, then I think we can go out and get what would be a really, really important 3 points and a much needed 3 points as well. In terms of the team news, I think Jordan Pickford will start in goal. I think Mikalenko will return at left back just because of how bad Ben Godfrey was last week and how much he was exposed. I think the centre backs will stay the same, James Tarkowski and Michael Keane. I do think we'll see Nathan Patterson come back at right back. Midfield, I actually think we will see Onana, Garner and Iwobi in that midfield. I think we'll see a midfield three of them, and then I think we'll see Dwight McNeil on the left, Damari Gray on the right, and I actually am going to go with Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. A little bit of optimism there. Maybe we'll see Dom on the bench. Maybe some people will say Dom shouldn't start because he's not match fit or he's not ready. But, you know, as I said in the live stream yesterday, if you were to say to me tomorrow, Cam, Dominic Calvert-Lewin starts, you're guaranteed to win, but then he gets an injury and he's out for another 3 months, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin doesn't start, but you're not guaranteed a win, I'm taking the guaranteed win. And I know that's not how football works, and I know that's never the case, but you get me point. If starting Dom means we win the game tomorrow, then, as I said, you haven't got many more games, you know, to go between now and the end of the season that you look at and that you think are as winnable as this one tomorrow. So, look, we'll wait and see. It'll be interesting. Hopefully Everton can go out and get the 3 points. We need to go out and get the 3 points. Obviously, all of the post-match content will be out after the match. Again, different video, different. I'm in the car this time. Sometimes I'll be in my setup. Sometimes I'll be in, you know, the house. Sometimes I'll be in the car. Sometimes I'll be anywhere. So, you know, I'm here anyway. Wherever I am, I'm here. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like. It does mean a massive amount to me. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, let's hope that Sean Dyche and Everton can go out and get the job done. Big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you later.